Chair, respected Chair, dear colleagues and dear students. A very good morning to all of you. I am Mithilesh from Pondicherry, and it's a great privilege or pleasure to be a part of this August gathering, and for that I would like to thank Dr. Afroz Alam, who has not been a good friend of mine but a very source of inspiration for me as well. The topic of my presentation is divergence of female voting pattern from their male counterparts in post-liberalizing India. The purpose of the paper is to explore and examine the pattern of women's voting behavior in recent election in India. If you see across the globe, the study of politics has traditionally been gender blind, or we can say ignorant, if not blind. We hardly give any importance to gender studies. Politics has always been an area which is considered as male's domain, where women hardly have any role to play. However, after the feminist movement we started in late 90s and early 20s, has changed the whole outlook about women and their importance in political activities. Madeleine Albright, the first woman to become the United States Secretary of State, says, "Success without democracy is improbable, and democracy without women is impossible." And I fully agree with this statement, because democracy is government made by people, and where women consist of 50% of whole population, where without participation of women, how can we even think of a democratic government? So now I'll move forward to the main topic, and what has been the main features of electoral politics in India. If we see from the gender perspective, Indian electoral politics has always been represented a patriarchal mindset, where women usually relegated to providing numerical support for the politics of men, and we see a persistent gender gap in political office holdings and unequal gender representation in political activities and discussions. India ranks 149 in a list of 193 countries in terms of women's representation in lower house of parliament as of July 1st, 2017. The average percentage of women's representation globally stands at about 22%, whereas in case of India it is mere 11.8%, and I must say it's not a very it's not a thing we can appreciate, and we should appreciate. And the another thing is, voting patterns in India are decided either by community elders or the male members of the family. And when I was working on this paper, I came across a very interesting fact, and that was during first general election in North India especially, women refused to register their name by their own name. They demanded to election commission that they wanted to get their names registered on their husband's name or father's name, daughter of, wife of, like that. They were accustomed to have their names registered with respect to their male family members. But the then Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Sukumar Singh, refused to this demand, and he said that we cannot give in, and I cannot give in to this relic of the past. They have their own identity, and because of, and this resulted in around 2.8 million women could not cast their vote in first general election. I feel that this was the very first step towards taking or bringing women in this arena. Means you are not just the shadow of someone, you have their own identity. So it's a matter of identity assertion, and he proved very much right. In next general election, women came forward and registered their name by their own name, and it's a very welcoming change in Indian electoral politics. Now moving forward, women and electoral participation, if we go historically, it started in India in early 90s. Madras was the first province who granted women's voting rights in 1921, but on a condition that women who are literate or having property, according to British record. But in 1935, the Government India Act provided greater recognition of the right to vote for women, but on the same conditions, whether you are literate or having property, or married to a man who is having land or owning property. But there was a very significant change in 1935 that it provided 41 seats reserved for women in provincial legislature as well as limited reservation for them in provincial and central legislature, but was subsided in religious lines. And interestingly, which resulted in 80 women winning the elections held in 1937 and becoming legislators, making India the third country worldwide at that time in 1977. Can you imagine? With the highest number of female legislators after the United States and Soviet Union. But even this new beginning was short-lived. The Constituent Assembly of 1946 and Parliament of Independent India did not provide reserved seats for women. Now we moved backward. In first general election, there was only 4.4% women of total members in lower house after the report published by the Committee on the Status of Women in India in 1976. The issue of women's political representation and participation was taken up seriously. The CSWI report recommended reservation for females, especially at the grassroots level. The National Perspective Plan for women in 1988 had also recommended 30% reservation at all levels of representative bodies. By the constitutional amendment, as we know, I will not go into the details, 73rd and 74th amendment, and we all know that about the left bill, that is 108 for to increase or to provide reservation in Lok Sabha and State Assembly, but that this 73rd and 74th amendment, which provided 33% reservation for women, now it's some of the states are now giving 50% reservation in PRIs, and that's very welcoming change. Now, gender and electoral politics in India, how has it been? According to Manav Veena and Rajni Kothari, female voting behavior is profoundly affected by prevalent social, economic, cultural trends as well as how the female population asserts itself. Till mid-90s, female voters were not taken seriously. Even places with good female voting percentage had minimal participation of women in the campaigning process. This was the sharp contrast to the freedom struggle, where women frequently participated and even led protest marches against the colonial government. Reason for this low participation of women has been: one is increased tardiness in election rallies and meetings, lack of proper transport and odd timing of such meeting, lack of family support, social taboos on movement of women, and lack of individual incentive. Therefore, during the first 3 to 4 decades after independence, the role of women in electoral process was minimal and mostly confined to reflecting their male counterparts and their voting preferences. Now, after electoral reforms, which I am not going into the detail because yesterday Mr. Qureshi has already emphasized on how he has taken up some electoral reforms like separate queues for women and a female constable at polling booth and electoral education to each and every voter. They are trying to reach out to each and every voter. So this has changed the electoral process as well as the participation of women and men. But we don't see much change in women's voting pattern, but we see very different kind of voting patterns of women. The rates of participation among women in 1960, we don't have data available on gender-based data available for two first general elections, one which had in 1952 and second is which had in 1977. So gender-based data I cannot give the details, but we have gender-based data of third general elections, which says that rates of participation among women I would like to take only 5 minutes.
Yeah. Because we have other candidates. Please go.
Okay, thank you. Participation of women in 1962 was 46.63% for Lok Sabha elections, which rose high to in 1947 58.60%. Male turnout during the same period was 63.31% in 1962 and 68.18% in 1984. Gender gap came down from a high from 16.7 to 9.2% in 1984. Voter turnouts in the last 50 years remain staggering between 50 to 60%. State elections shows growing trend of women's turnout exceeding male turnout. Here, the main theme of the paper is what is happening or what are the recent trends after 2014 general elections and what are the emerging trends. Women turnout during India's 2014 parliamentary general elections was 65.63% compared to 67.09% turnout for men. This was nearly 10% points higher than the previous general elections of 2009. 62.2% male, 55.8% male, and gender gap in 2009 was 4.4%. Now in 2014 what we see is narrowing to 1.4%. It was a significant jump of 10% women turnout, with the gender gap narrowing to 1.5% in 2014. In 16 out of 29 states of India, more women voted than men. And a significant change was that women voting has not mirrored male voting pattern. Parties and local government focused on women voters with schemes such as Amma Canteen in Tamil Nadu, alcohol prohibition in Bihar, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao campaign in Haryana, Delhi Ladli scheme by the Delhi government, MP Ujjwala Yojana by central government, raising the triple talaq, anti-Romeo Squad, and women's security in Uttar Pradesh. Victory of BJP in Gujarat and Uttar Pradesh attributed to outreach to female voters and their support. Massive electoral victories of Mamata Banerjee, Jayalalitha, Vasundhara Raje Scindia and Nitish Kumar in Bihar attributed to the support received from women voters. CSDS data 2015 Bihar Assembly election in phase, I'm not going into the detail because of the time constraint. I would like to say what has been the reason for this increasing turnout of women in electoral politics. First, liberalization resulted in an explosion of electronic media, creating awareness and educating women about their political and electoral rights. Increasing awareness by civil society and women's organizations, campaigns at grassroots level, encouraging and educating women about their voting rights and importance of vote in favor of right candidates and political parties. Reservation of seats for the women at Panchayati Raj institutions has given women in the country a sense of sharing power with men. Success story of women in Panchayat dispel the perception among women that politics is not only their cup of tea, it could be their cup of tea as well. So I would like to conclude my paper with this note: the increased voting along with the increased propensity of female voters to differ in their choice from their male counterparts has resulted paradigm shift in electoral fortunes of many political parties. Minute differences in voting pattern of men and women can significantly impact the overall results. Female influence in Indian election is likely to go further. Parties have now started reaching out actively to women voters rather than simply depending on family and community elders to deliver the votes. Improvement in female literacy along with greater access to information has led increased political awareness among women. The gradual emergence of women as an electoral constituency is an encouraging development in Indian democracy, as it is likely to ensure greater focus on women-centric issues and bring more women to the fore of electoral politics. Thank you so much.